Hello, people of the internet. My name is Nick from Motor City Magic, and today I'm bringing you a very in-depth Monarch deck profile. So this is Domain Monarchs, obviously, because I'm too poor for Xyz Monarchs, so this is what I got. I'm going to go over the main deck, the side deck, and in this video I'm going to tell you what to side in every matchup that you're most likely to face at an event. And then in my next video, I'm going to do some test hands with Monarchs, going first and going second. And that way you can see how consistent the deck is. So we're going to run through the list. Starting off with the main deck, playing 3 copies of Aether the Heavenly Monarch. Again, this is a very in-depth profile, so if you guys don't want to watch this because you know what these do, go ahead. Just go watch my other videos. So what she does is that if she is Tribute Summon, you can send 2 Monarch spell or traps from your deck to the graveyard to summon any Monarch in the deck. 2,400 or more attack or 1,000 defense. So that means you can summon out some really ignorant shit. Like, at first, I was playing a Dark Simorgh variant, where I was playing Dark Simorgh and, like, Anti-Spell Fragrance and playing a super Floodgate deck where Aether was the best card. But now I've changed into more of just, like, Erebus is the best card, because Erebus is the best card in the deck, but, yeah. And then she has a secondary effect where, during your opponent's main phase, you can banish a Monarch spell or trap from your graveyard, and you can Tribute Summon her. So she combos very well with Stormforth, as you can use Stormforth to tribute off their monster and your monster to summon this, and then either lock them under Domain or use Karaz for card advantage, which I'll talk about that when I get to Karaz. But anyway, 3 Erebus. What Erebus does is that when he's Tribute Summoned, you can send 2 from your deck to your graveyard to shuffle away 1 card in your opponent's hand, field, or graveyard. If it's in the hand, it's at random. The effect does not target, and it happens on resolution. So for all you motherfuckers who say, oh, you gotta send is... For those guys who say these guys send as cost, they don't. If you Valor a big Monarch, that's it. If you Valor... Can't believe I'm doing this. If you Valor an Erebus, you do not send anything, so... Spoiler, I'm playing Valor. But anyway, and then he has a secondary effect where if he's in the graveyard during either player's main phase, you can discard a Monarch spell or trap to get back any Monarch from your graveyard to your hand. So you can get back himself, you can get back Aether, you can get back any of the other monsters with Monarch stats. So he's pretty good. And then I'm main decking Thestalos. If he's Tribute Summoned, you get to look at your opponent's hand and take any card out of it. And then if it's a monster, you deal damage equal to its level times 200. And if you use a fire on top of that, he adds an extra 1,000. So, but I'm not playing any other fires. He's in here for game 1 because your game 1 is shit. Like, game 1, if you lose die roll, they're going to make you go first, so you can just drop this bitch. Or you can search it off of Aether or off of Return. And he can start ripping your opponent's hand. Plus, if you open up, like, the nuts with 1-for-1, you can summon both of these in the same turn. But you need to open 1-for-1 Domain and both of these cards. So, can it happen? Yes. Have I done it yet? Yes. But it's a very rare thing to do. But it can happen. So in the combo video, I'll explain how that works. But yeah, he's really good going first. Again, usually in game 2, I side this out, and I'll do that in my side decking talking to the video. But anyway. 1 Karaz. I don't understand why people are playing more than one of this card. This card sucks dick. So what he does is that if he's normal or special summoned, you can target 2 cards on the field and destroy them, and then their controller draws a card for each one that was destroyed. So yes, you can pop your opponent's cards. Yes, you can pop your own cards. Yes, he can pop himself. Yes, he does it when he's normal or special summoned. That doesn't make him a good card. The only reason you play him is because in the mirror match, you can do, like, when they activate Stormforth, you activate Aether and you summon this. Then you use the effect to get Karaz. Karaz pops them both. You draw 2 cards, and now they can't use Stormforth. If they're low on resources in the Monarch mirror match, which usually doesn't happen, but yeah. But the reason you're supposed to play multiple Karazes, I guess, is because it fixes your brick hands, and you can really do what dumb Aether Karaz plays. I'd much rather main deck this card, Majesty's Fiend. For those of you who don't know, it's essentially a Monarch that says monster effects cannot be activated and it cannot be special summoned. As much as I'd love to go Aether into this, you can't. So, yeah. That hurt. So, I'm maining 2 of these because of the format we're in. Against Cosmo, this card's amazing. Against PK Fire, this is amazing. Against, like, Water, this card's fucking amazing. Like, they can't even play Yu-Gi-Oh! With this card's up. So, yeah. And the reason I'm playing 2 is because they always have an out for the first one, but they usually never have an out for the second one. But in the Monarch Mirror match, this is the first card you side out because it sucks. Because they don't care about monster effects, and it has to be Tribute Summoned for it to get value. So they can Stormforth and summon one of their big Monarchs, and you don't want that to happen. So 3 Edia. That's it for the Monarch monsters. We're going to the Squires now. She summons any monster with 801,000. So when I was watching a video by the Duel Factory, he was talking in his Monarchs about how you can actually use Edia to summon Archfiend Eccentric, which I actually did try that, and it actually resolved. My opponent was like, the fuck is going on? But it's not worth it in this deck, so... but yeah. And then if she hits Graveyard, you get a banished Monarch spell or trap back to your hand. So she's good for recurring card advantage, and she's the main card that you want to see. And then I play 3 Eidos. The reason I'm playing 3 and 3 is because A, I can't play anything else, and B, I actually like this. I want one of the Edias to be Mithra, but because I don't have a Mithra anymore, I literally can't find one of my commons, so I can't play Mithra. But what Eidos does is he gives you an extra tribute summon. And then if he's in the graveyard, you can banish him and target any monster with 801,000 and summon it back to the field. So, and then the last main deck monster is Max C. Whenever your opponent special summons, you draw a card. You can only activate 1 Max C per turn. This is amazing, this format, because for one, this deck bricks like a motherfucker. Monarchs just as a built-in deck brick, even Exceed Monarch brick. So you need this card to fix your brick hands, especially in the format where you're playing against PK Fire, where to make any of the relevant cards, they have to special summon at least twice. So you activate Max C, and either they stop and you're still bricking, but they haven't advanced their board, or they're going to advance their board and try to kill you. But you're going to draw a dickload of cards, and you could possibly draw Aether, and you can drop it and start getting your plays going again. So that's it for the main deck monsters at 18. For spells, 3 Pantheism. You discard a Monarch spell or trap, and you draw 2, and then if it's in the grave, you banish it, reveal 3 Monarch spell or traps, and they have to give one to you. So this card's fucking dumb. It's a +3 for literally no fucking reason. But, and again, it's recurable off of Edia. So you can draw like 8 cards in one turn. It's like, the fuck are you doing? 3 Tenacity, it's the search card. All you have to do is reveal a Monarch. So you can reveal Majesty's Fiend, get your return, and play Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is fucking great. The best card in the deck is Stormforth. You can use your opponent's monster to tribute summon, is essentially what this says, and you can't use your extra deck, but who the fuck cares? You're playing Domain Monarchs. So, this is the card that leads to nutty combos. This is the card that lets you out really big boards that Cosmo and shit make. And this is the card that also lets you unbreak your hand if you can't tribute summon. Because like you can go Domain, make something level 6, Stormforth away, summon my Monarch, activate the effect, and you just start going off from there, so. And then I'm playing 3 copies of Domain because this is the card that you need to stop your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Since you don't have if you don't have an extra deck, and you have a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot summon from an extra deck. And then you can reveal a Monarch from your hand and make it... So, like, you have to reveal one of the monsters with 2,800, 1,000. And then it makes its level go down to 6. So that's what leads to the Stormforth play. And then what you can do is... Or what this allows is that if a Monarch battles... If a tribute summon monster you control battles an opponent's monster, it gains 800 attack in the damage step. So all of a sudden, this is 3,600. Again, if you have this and Majesty's Fiend, your opponent kind of just scoops. Because it's a 3,200 Majesty's Fiend, so it can beat over basically everything unless it's a Kaiju. And even then, if your opponent gives you a Kaiju, this is still alive because it counts as a tribute summon monster. So, yeah. Then for the 1-0s, I'm playing 1 March of the Monarchs. Your tribute summon monsters can't die by battle by card effects, including your card effects, and you can't special summon from the extra deck. So this is a card you usually search off Tenacity to set off the board. You set up a board of like Tenacity, Majesty's Fiend, and Domain. Yeah, or I don't know. I'm supposed to put, yeah. But you set up these 3, and you can do it turn 1, because this deck is consistent. And, like, you can just set this up and say, go. So they need Twin Twister, which is 2 cards, and then they need out to the Majesty's Fiend, which is usually another card. So it takes 3 cards to set up a combo that usually takes you 1 card to set up. Because all you have to do is Tenacity, well, yeah, if you have Tenacity in this, and you have one of these already in your opening hand, search which one you're missing, and then either Stormforth away their monster if you're going second, or Edia, which is very easy to get because of all the cards that we're playing to get to the card. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do, so I'll go into that a little bit. One return. If you tribute summon a Monarch, well, if you tribute summon any monster, you can search a Monarch or a Mega Monarch. Well, you get to search that. You can search that, or you can search this. As long as the tribute monster stays face up, and you can't special summon for the extra deck. This gets around Solemn Strike, because the way Solemn Strikes works is it has to negate the effect that directly responds to what Solemn Strike meets. So essentially, if I were to summon Aether and have Aether as Chain Link 1 and return as Chain Link turn, since I have the turn player in priority, they cannot Solemn Strike my Aether, as the last thing in the Chain Link that Solemn Strike can touch is the return, and Solemn Strike can't touch return. So they cannot Ether that. They cannot stop this. Now, if I were to summon Karaz, they could Solemn Strike Karaz, because that is the first thing to happen in the chain that Solemn Strike can touch. So most players have figured that out already, but for those of you who don't know that, yeah. And plus, like, it just gives you advantage. Like, I don't want to play more of this card because I've actually played 3 and bricked, like, 2 of these in my hand and no Monarchs, and I just lose the game. But, 1 Frost Blast. If you control a Monarch, you pop a set card. Any set card, it can be a set monster. And then if it's in the graveyard, you could banish it. If it's in the graveyard while you control a Monarch, you can banish it, another Monarch spell or trap, and then you get to pop in another set card on the field. And it's not once per turn, so you can, like, summon Edia. I know, summon a Monarch, send Frost Blast, do this, banish it, get a whole bunch of shit. I've actually popped 4 set cards in one turn with this card. I popped 4 in my opponent's back row, and they literally lost the game. It was the greatest feeling ever. 1 for 1, and Rhoda. 1 for 1 summons a level 1 monster from the deck, and the only one that we're playing is Edia. And Rhoda searches a level 4 or lower warrior, and the only warrior we are playing is Edia. So it's essentially, we're playing 5 copies of Edia in our deck if we see 1 for 1. If we see either 1 for 1 Rhoda or the Edia itself. So 12.5% of our deck is Edia. And when you do a lot of math, that when you sit down and do math, you can actually calculate how often you are to get to Edia in your opening hand. It's something like 25% in this deck where you can get to Edia turn 1. But that percentage is really low considering that Pepe is just more consistent than you. And you have to deal with that. Unless you want to go play Xyz Monarchs, which in that case, go right ahead. 1 Foolish Burial. This unbricks your hand because if you send Erebus to the graveyard, you can use his effect pitching like a Pantheism. Add him back to your hand. Now your Tenacity is alive since you can reveal a Monarch. Pantheism can banish to get you 3 Tenacity, which searches you a Stormforth, and it can lead to your plays going off. Like, multiple times in my locals and stuff, I've activated Burial, sent Erebus, and unbricked my hand. It's a great card. It's just a great card. And then 1 Upstart Goblin, because I've heard consistency is great. Not really going to explain what this card does, so. That is it for the spells at 19, I believe. I think I'm playing 19 spells. And then for the traps, I'm playing just 3, which is the Prime Monarch. If it's on the field, you can shuffle 2 Monarch spell or traps from your graveyard back into your deck to draw 1, and that's a quick effect during either player's turn. And then during either player's turn, if it's in the graveyard, banish a Monarch spell or trap and summon it as a level 5 light with 1,000 attack and 2,400 defense. So this is a card that you send with the 6 big Monarchs. You send Pantheism in this, which that's a very basic combo, which I'll go over in the combo video. But you can send those to the graveyard, banish it, banish like a Pantheism, summon this, use Edia to get the Pantheism back, and it generates advantage. And there are some rare situations where you're going to activate Tenacity to search this card so that you can set it and then activate it so it recurs cards in case you bricked. Where, like, if you have a Monarch but no way to summon it, search it, set, get the Tenacity and whatever else back, draw a card, and hopefully dig. Because, like, this also stops you from decking. God, I need to cut my nails. Anyway, so yeah. That will do it for the Monarch main deck. This is 40 cards. On to the extra deck. There is none. Side deck. This side deck has been very experimental, and I've been messing around with cards, so I'm going to explain my card choices one by one. So I'm playing 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is amazing in the mirror match because you get to stop the little guys or you can stop the big guys. So Alright, so I'm going to say this in the side deck. I probably should have said this first, but you always want to go second with this deck. You always want to go second. You cannot play Yu-Gi-Oh! Unless your opponent already has resources that you can use against them, so that you can use Stormforce, so that you can use Aether, so that you can use these things. This card promotes you for going second. Because in the mirror match, when they try and summon all their shit, you just say no. And then you're down a card, they're down a card, and you're at 5 and they're at 4, and you're automatically just ahead of them because you went second. This also stops... you stop the big guys, you stop the little guys. I can also stop Fog King. So what you can do is you can Valor a Fog King, make it 0, and then use Aether with Stormforth, tributing away the Fog King, and then all of a sudden you have the biggest monster on the board. So Effect Valor is really good. I might play it at 3, but I don't know yet. This is a card I've been debating for the last couple of days, Artifact Lancia. Originally, damn it, where did I put him? Originally these were Battle Faders, because I thought Battle Fader was amazing against Cosmo, because like, oh, they're going to smack you. You just play it, you end their Battle Phase, and then you have Tribute Fodder. The problem with that is that they can still banish. And they can start cycling through their shit, and they can cause Mojo, and they can do all that other shit. And I don't want to deal with it, so I just decided to play this card. Because since it's a level 5, you can actually domain lock Cosmos under this. Because the only main deck monster that they have, like the only main deck monster they can normal summon and attack this with is, what is her name? I think it's Wicked Witch, or Good Witch, or yeah, I think it's either, or they can summon Good Witch or Wicked Witch, and attack over this. But the thing is, you're only going to tribute summon this in the worst possible circumstance, because, yeah, it can domain lock, and you usually do it with return, so that you can search out Ether, and then you can use Ether during your opponent's main phase, tributing off Artifact Lancia since it is a tribute summon monster. So that shit is just amazing. Hold on a second, I'm very sorry here. I got some annoying things on my finger. Okay, there we go. I'll deal with that later. This leads to combo plays, and it can stop your opponent from banishing for a turn. I usually side one in the mirror match as well, because they banish a lot. And this stops you, and this stops them from doing things so that during your main phase, you go off. I'm siding the third Maxi for PK Fire and for Rogue decks, because, again, this helps you unbrick your hand. And against PK Fire, you always want to have a Maxi in your hand. You activate Maxi and you hope to draw another Maxi, because next turn they're going to do the same thing if you can't domain lock them. And you can just say, nope, bitch, do it again. Give me a lot of cards or stop. My favorite card in the side deck is Landro, because this guy is a fucking troll. What he does is that if your opponent has a monster on the field, you can target it, put it face down, and special summon Landro in defense position. And then if he's used for a tribute summon, you get a Squire out of the graveyard. So you tribute him off for, like, I don't know, an Erebus with Domain, and you can get back your Edia or your Eidos, and you can lead off to really nutty plays next turn, and that's amazing. Also for the fact that he outs Fog King in the mirror match. So in the mirror match, well, again, I'll talk about this in the side deck video as well, but in the mirror match, I side out my one Eidos for Landrobe, just in case my opponent has Fog Kings. I side deck 2 Dark Holes, because why would you not? You need this against Cosmo, you need this against PK Fire. It's not the best way to stop them from playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, but you can't target their shit. And if you don't open a Monarch, this is the best way to kill their monsters, because they're probably going to make you go first. So, you need to kill their monsters. I am siding 1 Book of Moon for PK Fire and Rogue and stuff, because it just stops a lot of decks, usually PK Fire. You have a great PK Fire matchup, by the way, but it's just, I'm paranoid about losing to it, because I did once, and I was like, are you kidding me? So I wasn't happy about that. And I hate siding this card, but I have to. 3 MST. Master Restrict just beats you. Like, you have to deal with it. So, in every matchup, I side at least 2. Depending on the matchup, I will side in 3 MSTs. I'll side out Upstart Prime Eidos and bring in 3 MSTs so that I can beat Master Restrict, because I don't want that card to resolve. So, I'm not sure how I feel about MST, because, like, usually I side in 2, but then I never draw it. But if I side in 3, I overdraw it. Like, I'll open 2 MST, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? So I hate the fact that I have to play this card, but I have to. And then the last card in the deck, 3 copies of Royal Decree. Against PK Fire, I only bring in 1 MST, because it deals with, like, just they set 1 pass, Decree doesn't do anything, during your main phase, you just MST their back row. But you side in 3 decrees. So, what am I thinking? Because they play traps and they play Master Restrict, this stops them. So you can easily just, they're going to make you go first. So you side in your 3 decree, you go Domain, Erebus, or whatever, set this. They do stuff and pass, and like, all right, end phase, roll decree. And they usually scoop after that. Like, you'll win the match 2-0, you shake their hand, they leave the match salty, and you feel good about yourself. So I love siding Royal Decree and Monarchs. I thought about Trap Eater as well. I just don't have them, and they're expensive. So, yeah. So that was the in-depth deck profile. Now I'm going to go on to the siding of this deck. So we'll start off with the matchup that you're most likely to play, Cosmo. Against Cosmo, what I do is I side in 2 Artifact Lancia, 2 Dark Hole, and 2 MST. I do this because I don't want to overdraw MST. And this, like, you activate Dark Hole and you chain Lancia, and then none of their monsters float. But this does tribute, so if they have Master Restrict, you can't do that. And what I do is, in most of my matchups, I side out my... Against Cosmo, you don't want Frost Blast because it's not good against them since I'm not setting much back row. You do not want your Upstart in this matchup because, for one, you don't want to give them life points. You're a very slow deck, and secondly, it's just a consistency card. Against Cosmo, you side out 2 Maxi. In this matchup, you definitely want to side out Thestalos because they use their graveyard as a resource, and you don't want to deal with that. So you do side out the Thestalos, and then the 6th card, it's usually either March or Foolish Burial. It's really personal preference on which one you out. Usually I side out the Foolish Burial and keep in March because this does stop them from using their Dark Destroyer to pop your monsters. And so that's what I usually do. Against Cosmo, I side out these 6 cards and bring in these 6 cards. Do what you want against Cosmo, but this is just what I'm saying you should do. And it's worked out the best for me so far. So now we'll move on to the second most prevalent matchup, which is the Mirror Match. Against the Mirror Match, you're going to side in your 2 copies of Effect Veiler, 2 copies of MST, and 1 copy of Artifact Lancia. I don't like Dark Hole in this match because they have marches, and they usually keep in their marches in the Mirror Match, and I don't want to deal with that. So against Monarchs, I usually side out the same 5 cards I do against Cosmo: Upstart, Maxi, Thestalos, and Foolish Burial. All the other cards are actually no. You keep these cards in, and you side out your Majesty's Fiends. Because this doesn't help you in the Monarch Mirror Match at all. These are the 5 cards that I side out against the Mirror Match, and I bring in these 5 cards. And it's worked out the best so far. For the third most prevalent matchup, we're going to talk about PK Fire. Against PK Fire, you side out 1 Upstart, 1 Foolish Burial. I usually side out Kuraz in this matchup, mainly because it doesn't do anything. Because if I have a clear board, I'm just going to die. And that's about it. And you usually just side in 3 decrees. There's extra cards you could side out. Like, again, you could side out the Thestalos and bring in an MST or Maxi. But I'm not sure how I feel about these cards. But usually I just do this. Or usually sometimes I keep Kuraz in and I bring in like these 3 cards because that's what you want to do. Because against PK Fire, this already stops them if they have the Master Restrict. So usually I would do something like this because you don't need the Kuraz in this matchup. And so that's the way that I look at going about it. So on to the last matchup that I'm going to talk about, and the one that I feel the best about is Mermail. You have an amazing Mermail matchup because they need their extra deck to out your big monsters, and they can't use that because of Domain. Most of the majority Mermail effects activate in the hand, and they need Neptunus to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So in basically every match, you side out Upstart Goblin because it's just a consistency card, and you're not going for consistency in Game 2. You're going for the Floodgates. Because you're keeping in the Majesty's Fiends and all their effects resolve in hand, you do not need Thestalos in this matchup, so you're going to side it out immediately. They don't play back row against you, so you're going to side out Frost Blast. And they don't target any of your things, so you side out your March of the Monarchs. And then you side in 2 copies of MST, and you bring in 2 Effect Veilers. The reason you bring in Effect Veilers is because if they out the Majesty's Fiend, this can negate Megalo, this can negate Tias, this can negate Abyss Tias, it can also negate the extra deck stuff. Like Dweller, Bahamut Shark, stuff like that, if they're going to go first in the matchup. So that's the way that I look at it. And yeah, that's about it. You could side in the extra Maxi against Mermail, but I feel like because in game 2 you're just gonna go for try to get to match these Fiend and just stop them from playing. Or what you could do is instead of siding in like Veilers, you could just side in Dark Holes. That is something that I've been thinking about, is siding out these 4 cards for these 4 cards. So that is an option too. Do whatever you like. Personally, I like the Veilers other than Dark Holes, although you could say that you could do 1 Veiler, 1 Dark Hole, but I don't like the fact that now these are only good if I draw them. But this way, I'm more likely to see it, or I'm more likely to see it, if that makes sense. Essentially, I don't want to do this, because it means that if I do this once or I do this once and they try to do the same thing again, I don't have another answer. But if they try to make up a board or they try to go for more effects, I have the second one. What are you doing? Okay, I guess. So, I'm very sorry about that. I had an intruder. So anyway, guys, I'm sorry this video was super long. I really wanted to go in-depth on Monarchs. And in my next video, I'm going to talk about combos and what I like about the deck and what I don't like about the deck. So anyway, my name is Nick from Motor City Magic. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video with some other bullshit.